All right, so we're going to do a deep dive today
Yeah.
into rugby, actually.
Okay.
Some pretty big rule changes
Oh, wow.
coming up in the Six Nations tournament.
Okay.
And we've got this Sky Sports article that's kind of breaking it all down.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
I think even if you aren't like a diehard rugby fan,
Okay.
it really kind of gets at
Yeah.
questions of sportsmanship and strategy and how we balance punishment with fairness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that everybody can kind of relate to.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Not just people who follow rugby.
So the big one that's making all the headlines is this new 20-minute red card.
Right. Okay.
Basically, instead of a permanent red card for certain fouls,
Mm-hmm.
players will now serve a 20-minute penalty,
Yeah.
but it's only for what they're calling technical fouls.
Yeah. So these are fouls that technically meet the red card criteria, but might not have been intentional or deliberately dangerous.
I see. Yeah.
And so the article uses the example of Paul Willems getting a red card last year in the Six Nations match against Ireland
Right.
for making contact with an opponent's eye area.
Right.
Now imagine if this new rule had been in place.
Yeah.
Would France have had a chance to win? Would the entire narrative of the match have been different?
It's like a butterfly effect almost.
Yeah.
Like one rule change could completely shift
Yeah.
the outcome of the game.
Exactly.
And like from a coach's perspective,
Right.
this must be kind of crazy to think about now.
Yeah.
Because like, do you risk
Right.
like a more aggressive play style,
Yeah.
knowing that a foul might only be a temporary setback?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fascinating question.
Or does it make you more conservative?
Right. Yeah, because you don't want to risk being shorthanded for any amount of time.
Yeah.
It really gets at the heart of how this rule might change player and coach psychology.
Yeah.
Will it lead to more calculated risks?
Right.
Or, on the flip side,
Yeah.
could it actually make players more hesitant?
Yeah.
Always second-guessing their actions for fear of incurring even a temporary penalty.
Well, and there's also that whole other element
Yeah.
of like cynical play.
Right.
Could this rule actually encourage players to push the boundaries even further,
Yes.
knowing that the consequences might not be as severe?
Yeah, that's a definite possibility.
Yeah.
And it'll be something to watch closely as the Six Nations unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Will we see a rise in tactical fouling,
Right.
where players deliberately commit an infraction knowing they'll only be off for 20 minutes?
Right.
It's a risky strategy,
Yeah.
but it could become a part of the game.
It's true.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've got this huge change with the red card.
Okay.
But the article also talks about a bunch of other,
Right.
what seem to be smaller
Right.
tweaks.
Huh.
Faster conversion kicks,
Okay.
quicker scrum and line-out formations.
Yeah.
Even more protection for scrum halves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these might seem kind of minor,
Right.
but I have a feeling they could have a real ripple effect on the game as well.
Yeah. So, for example,
Yeah.
the faster scrum formations.
Yeah.
Now, for those who aren't as familiar with rugby scrums, are these set-piece plays
Uh-huh.
where the forwards from both teams kind of bind together.
Right.
Under the new rule, they'll have less time to set up.
Okay.
And that could really benefit teams that are known for their speed and agility.
I see.
Yeah.
So it kind of like teams that rely on more
Yeah.
powerful, methodical scrummaging
Yeah.
might find themselves at a disadvantage.
So it's not just about,
Yeah.
the individual rule changes. It's about how they interact
Yes, exactly.
and how they potentially shift the entire dynamic.
Yeah, the whole dynamic of the game.
Yeah, of the game.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think about other sports.
Right.
too.
This whole idea of like balancing punishment with fairness.
Right.
And trying to keep the playing field level.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a very universal.
Yeah, it's a universal struggle across all competitive arenas.
Oh, yeah. You see it in soccer with yellow and red cards.
Right.
Hockey with penalties.
Yeah.
American football with its crazy system of fouls and yardage penalties.
Exactly. It's a constant balancing act.
It really is.
You want to deter negative behavior, but you also don't want to unfairly swing the momentum of a game because of a single mistake.
Especially if it wasn't intentional.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how we approach these same dilemmas in our own lives, too.
Yeah.
Like, when do we offer second chances?
Right.
And when do we hold people accountable for their actions?
Yeah. do our systems,
Yeah.
you
Of
know,
our systems.
whether it's in our legal system, workplaces,
Right.
even personal relationships,
Mm.
strike the right balance between punishment and forgiveness?
Yeah. It's tough.
These are complex questions
Yeah.
without easy answers.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how a sport like rugby is grappling with them in such a direct way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
So
Mm.
as we head into the Six Nations,
Yes.
it's going to be fascinating to see how these rule changes play out in real time.
I think so.
Will they achieve their intended goals,
Right.
or will they create a whole new set of
Yeah.
challenges and unintended consequences?
Yeah, it's a bold experiment, that's for sure.
It really is.
And whether you're a rugby enthusiast or just someone who enjoys a good strategic puzzle,
Right.
the results are bound to be captivating. So
Yeah.
keep an eye on the matches.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe we'll all learn a thing or two about balancing punishment and fairness,
Right.
both on and off the field.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me for this deep dive
Yeah, thanks for having me.
into the new world of rugby.
It was fun.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you, buddy, next time.
Sounds good.